This Choircast podcast is brought to you by Heretic Happy Hour, whose tagline is "Burning Questions, Not People." You know, we've been around for a long time now, and we've had many different lineups. And Heretic Happy Hour is only getting bigger and better, with guest hosts like Rainn Wilson, David Bentley Hart, John Fugelsang, Candida Moss, Elaine Pagels, and of course, December Rose. 2024 and 2025 are turning out to be our best years yet. So check us out on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's Heretic Happy Hour. We hope to see you soon.
Western Christianity has spent the last 2,000 years telling everyone they're separated from God.
This is Not Church with John and Nat Turney and Bethany Shea.
All right. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. My name is Nat Turney, not to be confused with Matt McConaughey. Who I just did a terrible impression of. All right. I haven't done that in a while. Figure out you give the people what they want.
Yeah.
I get literally tens of emails a year.
Wow. That's more than I get. So there you go.
Where they really want the Matthew McConaughey sound.
It's literally never happened. I'm just making that up.
Please, Nat, please, more.
Please, do the really poor Matthew McConaughey impersonation. Won't do it again. But hey, I like I said, my name is Nat. I have been called Matt most of my life, or Nate.
Yeah.
That's why I stopped going to places like Starbucks and trying to give my name. Or if I do, I lie and just say it's Charlie Kirk. Oh, wait a minute.
People are about that. Oh my gosh.
I said I wouldn't get political, and I did it right out the gate. Lauren, our guest, I apologize. It's not as bad as the assholes who like go like during the holidays and go, "My name is Merry Christmas. Now say it." And I'm like, oh, yeah, you really own the libs. Nice job. Way to go. Super clever. Thankfully, we got other better stuff to talk about. But my brother's John, my brother's John, both of my brothers John are here. Can you say hi in two voices? Hello.
Hello, John.
See, John follows instructions. Bethany will not.
No.
Our third host, the angel of our better nature, the one who sits on our shoulders and says good things to us, and pushes us towards generosity and kindness. The lovely, the loquacious Bethany Shea. Say hi.
You got to keep coming up with more words.
I know. I'm stuck on the lovely and loquacious. I was going to say lascivious, but that didn't have the right meaning at all. The lascivious. Maybe I could get off. Maybe I get onto a letter. Okay. The maudlin and. No,
you should just start with the alphabet. Start with A and work your way through, and find out what happens.
I'll work on it. Once I get stuck in a rut, it kind of stays there. But Bethany's here with us. This is the podcast that we have lovingly called "This Is Not Church" because it's not. It's a podcast. And if it was church, you'd have been getting the hell out of here by now. That should be our new tagline, John. This isn't church. Of course not. It's a podcast. What the hell?
Why did you think it was
did you click on there and go, oh, now I still have to go to church? Yeah, you still have to go to church this week.
Yeah, really.
If you feel so compelled. I'm under no such compulsion. Have not been for some time. But we try to fill that void. And we still talk about faith and stuff like that to the extent that we can. And we have a guest like we always do. Always great guests. And so today is no different. Let me introduce y'all to Lauren Cibene. She's a doubtful yet hopeful Jesus person, a gym rat. I don't understand that at all. People who go to the gym on purpose. Like we're already off on a bad foot. Bookworm I could get behind, and writer. She used to be a confident evangelical, a homeschool student, a foster mom, a world traveler. Did I say used to be? Yes. Professional photographer. Now she's a business co-owner and daylights as a conversion copywriter. Penning words even non-readers read. Descriptions on products, product packaging. Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Okay. And Amazon pages, but she moonlights over on Substack. She lives with her husband near Atlanta. Her new book is entitled Tiger in a Lifeboat, Discovering India, Deconstructing Faith, and Deciding to Trust Again. And now that I have mumbled my way through your introduction, welcome to the podcast, Lauren. How are you today?
Yay, thank you. I'm doing great. So glad to be here. Thank you, guys.
Oh, absolutely. We're so glad that you're here. If you wouldn't mind, maybe just kick us off with a little bit about yourself, maybe a little bit about your deconstruction faith journey. I know that's a big question. So Cliff Notes version, however little or as much as you would like to say, just by way of introduction.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you touched on it a little bit in the intro, but I grew up in the very conservative, evangelical, kind of megachurch world, just like that white evangelical.
Same.
Yeah. And was bought in very much. Like in the summers, I went to apologetics camps. I practiced knowing the right answers. And when I got into adulthood, a bunch of things just shattered all at once, and I was left trying to understand what faith is to me. And yeah, that's kind of how it started.
It sounds similar.
Yeah, your story is so similar to so many of our listeners and to us as well. Just that sense of like growing up, having all the right answers. I also was homeschooled growing up. I'm also a foster parent. And just the sense of like having this faith that you were handed, not only a faith that you're handed, but also like having all the answers and being able to defend that faith until you were blue in the face, or at least until you won the argument, because that's what we're here to do, people. We're here to win the argument for Jesus.
That's right.
and it like once that house of cards starts to tip or fall, it's like, wait, what do I believe? It's so disorienting. Was that disorienting for you too?
Definitely. Yeah. And the thing that was really surprising to me was that I lost a lot of trust in myself. And this, I think, is part of the evangelical playbook, is that they fracture your trust in yourself, your intuition. It's not a bug, it's a feature. And so when my faith kind of cracked open, I didn't know who to trust. And least of all myself, because I was the one who kind of swallowed all of this without thinking about it, like hook, line, and sinker. And yeah, so that was the like really surprising, shocking part of it for me.
Well, it's amazing though too, because and I'm learning this about myself now, but so much of what we were taught, we were inculcated, we were indoctrinated at such a young age. I mean, from birth for John and I, raised up in this. And I found, it wasn't hard to start to doubt. It was hard to fully root out. And even now, I was on a plane yesterday and we hit heavy turbulence and I started praying. I don't pray. I'm like, I've been sure there was anyone listening. And yet my instinct was to go, all right, well, I better at least be ready to meet Jesus if this is about to happen. But it's so deeply ingrained. And then and what you just said is so powerful too. And I wrote a little bit about this in my own book where I was talking about, because the church does not, I don't want to just parrot what you said, but the whole bug, not a feature thing, it was intentional to erode our sense of self. 100% was intentional to get us to not trust our intuition. It's all over the Bible, by the way. It's also very biblical and very scriptural to not lean on your own understanding and to not be able to trust your heart because it's wicked and deceitful. And they can cite chapter and verse all day long. And I was the same as you when that started to break. And now I don't know if I can trust me because I've been told I'm terrible. But it also turns out the Bible's kind of terrible. And religion's kind of terrible. I didn't know I floundered for a little while. Did you find yourself sort of in that, or at least somewhat adrift for a little while, trying to find your footing? Yeah.
And that's something that a lot of people, like when we start talking and getting into this, this really delicious level of conversation, if they say well, what do I do? I'm there now. And that's something that I had to, in my own story, I had to be okay with that. I had to be okay with the floundering. I couldn't rush to fix it or to find the new answer that I'll defend or the new, box to protect. I just had to let go and be okay with that.
You talk about, well, first of all, your book is beautiful. The way that you write, the way that you weave your words together. I mean, it is just it's a joy to read the way that you describe your experiences. And it's not just fact after fact after fact. It's you are creating a story that you invite the reader into. And I just really appreciate that. What I love is that through your experiences of being in India, of trying to figure out who you are as a person who lives with anxiety, and are you a 6 on the Enneagram?
I'm a 5. I'm really close.
A 5. Yeah. Nice. Just I don't know, even when you were trying to figure out who you are and what you believe and how you even move from the stability of faith to the insecurity of a deconstructed faith, or what faith is. I love how you write about still finding yourself being a red letter Christian, still finding the words of Jesus and the way of Jesus really compelling to you. Do you still feel that now, even since the book has come out?
I do still feel that. Yeah. And it's, I really love the writings of Rachel Held Evans. I found the midst of it. She's like a spiritual mama to so many of us.
Totally.
But I love how she talks about like, there are days when I believe and that's great. And there are days when I don't. And that's also great. Like that's also is part of it, and that's very true to my experience as well. But I find myself more and more in this space where I don't want to cede the red letters to extremists and people who are misusing them. Like I'm getting to a point where I'm very protective over the red letters not being, used in the way that I feel like Jesus intended. So yeah, I still claim that red letter Christian description.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I mean, the upside is that most radical Christian nationalists, they don't use the red letters. That's too damning. John Fugelsang, we just had him on last week, and he talked about how the Christian nationalists in general and the white evangelicals have co-opted Jesus as a mascot. And they use him as camouflage to then operate in hate and cruelty and all the other things that they do. My concern is not so much that they might co-opt those words, it's just that they ignore them. They're so hell-bent on getting the 10 Commandments up in school, they don't give a shit if we post the Sermon on the Mount or the Beatitudes or the... but I'm also with you in my tiny little form of resistance is you can't take that from us. You don't get to co-opt the faith of my fathers and my grandfathers and of all of our ancestors and turn it into something that would make Jesus vomit. I just don't understand it. I want to go back to the days when the vast majority of, I don't know if there ever was, but there are movements and there are times within Christendom where we've seen us lean more towards social justice. You have the Catholic workers movement, and you have there are Catholic priests standing on protest lines today. That's our legacy. Our legacy is not to go along to get along. Our legacy is go ahead, lock me up. And then you get to be on the news as the guy who locked up the Catholic priest or invaded his church, which, by the way, is going to start happening soon.
Yeah.
So I'm with you.
Yeah. Our Christian Palestinian brothers and sisters are seeing this firsthand. They're watching this happen. Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. Like there are these pockets, these little, and I think that the followers of Jesus were always supposed to be these kind of oddballs that are
absolutely.
They're nonviolent and they are taking care of each other. They're taking care of people. Like that, I feel like was the image. It was kind of like this circus of oddballs. And I love that.
Yeah, they were always supposed to be these little enclaves, right? And I think the danger comes when we've decided that, I'm like you, I didn't grow up necessarily in megachurch culture, but I got there pretty quick. Especially as soon as you get to Texas, whether you're in a megachurch or not, you're still in megachurch culture because every church that isn't one wants to be one. And so we're all either in it or we're aspiring to be it. So all of our programs, all of our things that we're, all of the conferences we attend are hosted by these churches we'd like to be like. And then you get what you get, which is the pastor of one of the biggest mega churches in America just hauled off the jail for sexually abusing a 12-year-old. And I knew that guy. It's a toxic mix that always seems to produce what toxic things, the only thing they can produce. You can't get good fruit out of toxic soil. So that's why stuff like what you're writing and to me is so timely and so important. So because I'm like Rachel Held Evans, there are days when I care and there's days when I'm like, fuck it, let it all go. Today happens to be one of those days where I'm really like, yeah, maybe you can't have it. I won't let you have it. Maybe you can have my religion or my faith or whatever. When you pry it from my cold dead fingers, maybe I feel like tomorrow I might feel differently. I might just feel fed up with the whole thing and say,
that's okay.
My book is about deconstruction, and that's essentially my deconstruction started when I had this sort of conversation with myself and literally I said to myself, tear it all down. Mm-hmm. Like bulldoze it, wrecking ball, dynamite, whatever, I don't care. It all has to come down and then we have to see what survives.
Yeah. And
not everyone's approach is like that. Some are more methodical, some are more, measured in their approach. I was not. I was reckless as all hell. And I'm like, well, I guess we'll just see. So was there a method or an approach to your deconstruction or did it just kind of happen to you as things shattered around you?
No, I very much resonate with you. And I think it was Sarah Bessey, who's another voice in this space. She equated deconstruction to like cleaning out an attic. Yeah. And I think that is very lovely and gentle.
Very lovely.
That is not true.
Not my experience.
That is not true. My experience
No.
at all. No, the analogy that I use is a house fire.
Same.
Yeah, and it wasn't intentional. Like I myself wasn't saying burn it down, but it started and I could not, there was no time to parse what to bring and what not to. I just had to run. And that kind of like goes back to the, just being okay to float and to not attach to anything. But yeah, that's what I equate it to. And it's kind of a mess. Like when you read my book, you learn that there was a lot of trauma involved. And this was not, there was some spiritual trauma, but there was also some like external trauma. So it was just kind of this mess of stuff that was happening. This also took place in the middle of the first Trump presidency, which I don't write about in my book, but I do feel like that, like watching my family members get on board with this candidate, like that was in the mix as well. So there was a lot of rocks hitting the windshield that caused it to shatter.
Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like we've lived parallel lives in many ways. John, I cut you off, man. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, for me, I mean, it's the same thing. I just had to burn it all down and get to the point. But one of the questions I got from a lot of people was like, well, surely you can't deconstruct Jesus. In the beginning, I was like, well, no, of course not. And then I got closer and closer and I was like, no, I have to deconstruct Jesus too. And I have to break that down. I have to take away everything that I was taught and kind of rebuild a version of Jesus that fits the scripture, that fits the red letters.
Yeah.
And that's, I was even shocked that I had to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Even like, just like figuring out, or at least learning about the cultural context of the real Christ the real Jesus who walked in this world. That's something that at least I never understood or was taught in regular church setting. It was something I had to do on my own. And then also just finding writers like Sarah Bessey and Rachel Held Evans and Nadia Bolz-Weber, those people that were like willing to do the hard work for me. And I was just able to like hold on to their coattails as they led the way forward. That was super helpful for me. I think like what I'm recognizing is how different personalities deconstruct differently and end up at the bottom of what they believe differently because of who they are. Like for me, I'm an Enneagram 9 and Sarah Bessey is as well. There was this very peaceful experience for my deconstruction. I wasn't afraid the entire time because
I love that.
Yeah, because I knew that in the end, there was nothing to fear, I guess, is what I kind of saw. And so I didn't feel like I was able to, like nothing burned down. I lost a lot of people along the way, and that hurt a lot because people felt like they couldn't trust me. I'm a pastor, and they couldn't trust like what I had to say because I didn't say the things that they wanted me to say every Sunday.
Wow.
But even then, like internally, I felt like I was at peace. I was held throughout the whole thing. I don't know what it was like to have everything just burn down and feel like you're totally alone and you don't know what to land on. So that must have been really hard. I can only imagine that experience for you, especially if it came from certain levels of trauma as well.
Yeah. So I'm interested then. Do you feel like personalities like mine, like a 5, do you feel like it's scarier to us because we want to know it all? Like, do you think that's part of it?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. There's something that's like really soothing for some people when it comes to mystery and just being like, well, I don't know. It's no big deal. I don't need to have the answers. And then I'm sure for other people, it is not soothing. The mystery is actually really, it feels like a knife to the chest. And I think no matter what, like regardless of personalities, as children are growing up in the church, and if they're growing up in an evangelical church where apologetics is preached often and you have to have an answer for everything, regardless of personality, having good answers and winning arguments feels really, really good no matter who you are. Yeah. But once you start to get a little older and the brain develops more fully, it's there's less fear, I guess, for some people than others. But I think also it depends on how much you have to lose. Like, I think Trump and how religion has become so partisan makes it so the loss of relationship it's not even the loss of Jesus or the loss of like where I'm going to go when I die. Like you deconstruct hell and everything else is okay. But the loss of relationship is really hard for no matter who you are, no matter what your personality is like.
Yeah.
Did you lose people along the way?
Yeah, in to certain degrees. Yeah. There's no one that I'm like, not speaking to. It's not like that, but there was definitely a shattering that happened for family members, for friends, people who are still very invested in knowing the right answer. Even the deconstruction is very scary to them. So when I use the word like in my subtitle, or I use it to help me, orient myself to these communities where I feel like I belong and I identify with them. That's very scary to a lot of my family members. And I do my best to try to talk and to educate, because oftentimes when I say, this is what I mean when I say deconstruction, a lot of people say, well, I've been through that. Like I went through seasons that, especially the older generations, they'll say, I went through stuff like that. I had a miscarriage or whatever. Something happened to them that initiated it. But it's because I think deconstruction, the word, has become a little bit of like a football, and people get on either side. And so, yeah, it's tough.
Well, like anything else, I mean, language is a weird thing. Once you put a word to something like that and you begin to sort of define it in a certain way, and it begins to be overused. I'm old enough to remember when we first started using the word woke. And it was not a pejorative. We didn't mean it in a bad way. And all of a sudden now it's just used as a catch-all for anything you don't like. Because, well, that's just woke. Well, Jesus is woke. And so deconstruction early on was, and we didn't even understand, none of us did. A handful of people had ever heard of Jacques Derrida and understood there was an actual discipline called deconstruction that was almost nothing like what we talk about. We just sort of fell into it naturally. Like, oh, we're not building something, we're unbuilding it, and again, for a variety of reasons and in a variety of ways. But then there came the pushback, and there were the books that were written that were warning young Christians about this fad and this movement, and even people that were in spaces that I respected and liked a lot have maybe not come out against it, but have come out with their tempered versions of it, because, we don't want to go too far with it, and we have to do this and this, and
right.
The cynic in me was like, yeah, because you're still pastoring churches and you're worried.
Yeah.
People like us with nothing left to lose on that front say, burn it all the hell down.
Right.
And let's see what's worth saving. Go ahead.
I have such a heart for people because you read in my book, there's a huge swath of time where I am actively working in evangelical ministry and I am actively deconstructing.
Same.
I think there are so many people out there that are doing this, and I know firsthand how scary that feels, especially if paycheck, your family's food source, depends on you having this ironclad belief. It can feel very suffocating.
It can. But it also becomes a very good argument for getting away from that structure entirely and not having a space where people's livelihoods depend on saying and doing the right things. Like, how can you be honest? Like, I would have these private conversations with people in my church. I would have this private conversation with other staff members in my church. And we would agree and agree and agree. And they would be absolutely. But they couldn't say anything publicly, because otherwise they'd be like me and they'd be getting cast out. They'd be getting messed with. And for a while. And I held back on a lot of things for those same fears. And then at some point I'm like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I can't live this dishonest, disingenuous way. I'm just going to say what I say. And so when you talk about everyone's experience in this is so unique. That's why writing a book about it is so perilous. And I think you did a wonderful job of saying, was like, this was not prescriptive. This is not, I told John 2-3 years ago, maybe, I think I said something to you like, we'll know this has all gone wrong when we start seeing books that are showing you how 10 steps to deconstruction, or somebody, opens the first church of the deconstructed. It's going to be what, and I have not seen, I have seen people do courses, friends, people that I know, but I know they approach that, but it's so difficult. And I would actually, that difficult, not, I think it's impossible to come up with hey, here's the 10 steps to, how do you, to safely deconstruct, to a healthy deconstruction. Right. Like we take Jesus and we put him over here, and that has to stay sacrosanct. And we, I found there's places like you're pretty open, like most people are pretty open to criticism of institutional church because they never view their own church that way. Like you're not attacking their congregation when you say, well, because they always just think you mean like the Catholics, and because we can all look down our noses at their institutions. But how does this play out for you then in the context of, so you were at work. How long did you work in that evangelical space while you were doing all of this deconstructing?
I was there for a little over a year in the ministry. Of course, my deconstruction, it kind of...
Yeah, for sure.
It builds, so like it's flexible. So I couldn't pinpoint exactly when it started, but I was in the ministry for about a year and a half. When I did the bulk, because I was facing these questions every day. I was facing this like, well, what do I believe about this? What do I believe about, evangelicalism? Because it was in my face all day long. So yeah, it was tough, but it's not like, to your point, like you're talking about like your how-to guides and stuff. Like, no, in my opinion, deconstruction is not a linear thing. You don't start at one point and like, it feels more to me, it feels more akin to grief, in that it's kind of cyclical. Like some days, like you're angry, you're really angry about it, and then some days you're just like, you're numb, you don't feel anything, and it kind of like repeats again. There are moments still where I will be surprised, because I'll be like, I thought I was done with like the angry part of this, but it's back again. Or I thought I was done with just the mourning, like the grieving of my faith, but it's, it's back again. So I feel like grief is like a better, I think, thing to.
I love that. Yeah, I love that analogy, because it's like, oftentimes we think that grief comes in stages, and then there's going to be an end, and we're going to be done, and it's going to be fine, and we're going to get to we won't grieve any longer. But that's not true with grief for any of us who's ever grieved, and it's not true with deconstruction either. There's definitely stages of deconstruction, different experiences and seasons within it, but it's not like you get to the end and you're like, oh, well, that's good. I thought it'd be worse or whatever. Like it's like a lifelong journey.
I thought there'd be cake.
I love what
there should be cake.
Yeah. Why isn't there more cake? No, I love what Eugene Peterson writes. He says every step is an arrival, and so this like idea that wherever we are in the moment is where we're meant to be, but it's not necessarily where we're going to end up. And every place we end up is not where we're also going to end up.
That's right.
So I just that,
and like the great, theologian Rascal Flatts once said, "God bless the broken road that leads straight to you." No, that was terrible.
Love it.
So I miss Eugene Peterson so much.
Oh,
yeah,
same.
We were perilously close to getting to meet him, especially once John found out he lived so close to his in-laws.
Yeah. Oh wow!
Well, at the time,
man. And I reached out to him a couple times, but he was already in fairly frail health at the time. But just a lovely man, just a good-hearted. I love the story of him hanging out with Bono from U2 and not knowing what a U2 was. I'm sorry. He's like, so they invited him to be their chaplain, and he was like, "Oh no." No, it's like I'm trying to translate Isaiah right now. I don't have time for this. But we have those, and I love that for us that we do have those markers along the way. There are those who planted their flags some of them very gently, and I always felt like Eugene was a gentle man in that way. And you have the Walter Brueggemans, and you have you have these people that do come along periodically, and then you have the firebrands, and you have those who, their message is more like, nah, no more. No more of this. We're going to plant a flag here. And I feel like yours falls sort of in the middle there. I feel like there's some of that firebrand resistance, but I think it's accessible, which is super helpful. The storytelling helps. You obviously know that. Stories make, they're the spoonful full of sugar that help some of the medicine go down, right? That's right. I made a Mary Poppins reference, John. You could.
That's right.
But talk to us about India, though. I'm always fascinated by people's experiences there.
Yeah. Have you guys ever been?
No, someday.
Okay. So
on my bucket list.
Yes, definitely deserves to be there. It's a hard place to get to, but once you're there, you can't leave without being changed. My favorite spot was by far Varanasi. And I write about it in the book a lot, but Varanasi is a deeply spiritual place. It's right on the river Ganges, and it's where the burial funerary rites happen for a lot of Hindus. So it's the oldest continually occupied city in the world, and it feels that way when you walk the streets. I mean, it's old. I mean, I walked down alleys that were older than America. Like, it's amazing to be there. And because it has such spiritual significance, and you can really feel it while you're there.
Have you found as a result of your deconstruction that you are more open to the spiritual experiences of others? Where, I mean, as an evangelical, we would have been closed off. Like,
100%. Yeah.
Oh, that's just a bunch of pagans and a bunch of whatever we don't listen. But do you find yourself going, I don't know, actually. Maybe I feel like there's some truth here.
Yeah. The thing that was powerful for me was reaching this realization that if I had been born in Varanasi versus Atlanta, I would have been my same self, but 100% like that apologetics, all of that stuff would have been for like towards Hinduism or Buddhism. So that was a huge shift for me to understand, like, okay, a lot of what I think to be true is impacted by the color of my skin and how wealthy my father was and where I was born and all of these things. And if any of these factors had been different, I would have been different. I would have been a different person. So that was a big, and it seems like it's like a no-brainer thing. Like that's something that's a level of empathy that I feel like we should have as people. But for me, there was a moment when I had it, I acquired it, and I was an adult. I was well into my adulthood.
Yeah. Well, it's also that time when that veneer of, when it takes a lot of humility to cast off the arrogance of Western evangelicals who somehow think they arrived at this place on their own, devoid of any input. We just happen to find the right thing and everyone else is wrong. When that breaks loose and you start to be like, oh, like I had that same realization. I'm like, man, if I'd been born in the Middle East, I'd be a hell of a Muslim. I might be one of them radical ones. Cause I'm a all or nothing, 100% all in kind of guy. That's just my personality. And so same way that I approached Christianity for a good long time, I would have approached whatever religion I'd been born into that way. But I do find myself wondering, John and I have had lots of conversations about Buddhism and about Hinduism. We've had Hindu guests on the show. We've had people who practice yoga and all kinds of other things. And I'm like, far be it from me to, poo-poo those ideas. But once again, John, I stepped on something you're about to say, man. I'm sorry.
You said exactly what I was going to say.
Damn it.
I truly believe that I too would have been, if I was born in the Middle East, I would have been the best Muslim I could be. If I was born in India, I would have been 100% Hindu. So yeah, I was just going to agree with you on that.
Well, I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
No, it's fine.
What was it like? What was it like going to India as a receiver instead of as like a missionary who's meant to give?
Oof,
like oftentimes we think as evangelicals, the only time that we ever should travel is if we're traveling for the Lord or something like that.
Yeah.
And so, I think you mentioned in your book that your husband grew up as a missionary's kid. Is that right? So traveling to a place like India and just being like, well, I'm here to learn about who I am and to receive instead of like coming with the gospel or whatever. What was that like for you?
Yeah. Oh, I love this question so much. Yeah, it was super transformative because I do have that VBS kid experience, going to Belize, doing these, international mission trips. And yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on this. There's something to be said for the fact that, especially as women in the evangelical movement, we are, ironically kind of push that like Martha, identity on us where we constantly need to be taking care of others and we constantly need to be like in control and doing all these things. So there was, it felt strange for me to not be that way, to instead be very open-handed and receiving and at the, the mercy of other people's schedules and driving abilities and, all of
right.
So there's something to be said there, but also like having the posture to travel the world and not feel like you have an agenda to push. Gosh, if you can click into it, if my evangelical friends could just click into that, it is so freeing. It is so magically freeing to be able to go somewhere where nothing is like you are used to. Everything's different. The food's different, but you are there to receive. It's magical.
Yeah, that's something that I forget who said it, but something about travel is like it's like the death of bigotry.
I've met some well-traveled bigots, but I believe in the sentiment.
The sentiment is there, even if it's not. Yeah. Well, I traveled, tell this story. I traveled, I was in the military once upon a time, and I spent 30 days in Malaga, Spain on a training. I was a Spanish linguist, and so I went there to learn some more Spanish. So they wanted us to go live anyway, so I took a handful of 4 or 5 people with me. We spent a month in the country, going to school during the day and just being in the country, which is a fantastic way to learn language. And traveled with one person who just could not get their head around the fact they weren't in America. And every little glimpse of Americana they wanted to go enjoy. So wanted to go, oh, there's a McDonald's. Let's go eat at McDonald's. Why the hell would I eat at McDonald's when there's an entire sea full of they're cooking seafood on the beach in this place. They're making paella over in this place over here, and you're just surrounded by all this culture, and you want to go have a McRib. What the hell is wrong with you?
I feel ill at the thought of that.
Well, my brother-in-law went to India several years ago as a missionary, and he came back, and I was like, man, so how was your trip? He goes, man, it's really amazing. He goes, man, just the food is terrible. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, all they have is Indian food. That's India.
I
scour the country for the best Indian food. What are you talking about? I love Indian food. But so, yeah, that was so I was like, let me go to this place and complain about all the spicy curry. I'm like, no, give me all the spicy curry.
This is a little bit of we could do a whole episode about this. My one of my passion topics is the theology of food.
Okay.
And there's a lot there that is very indicative of a spirituality that is and hesitant and backs away. So we'll do that another time.
That sounds like a book.
Yeah, are you going to write a book on it?
Well,
if you won't, I will. You better hurry. No, I'm just kidding.
It's tied very closely to land theology as well, because how we grow our food and how we feed people, how we eat, it's all very much interconnected, and that's my big thing right now.
Have you studied much of the farminary at Princeton?
Yes, I have a friend who's there now.
Okay.
They just did a big anniversary thing that I was trying to do, but I had some stuff but I'm in seminary. Plot twist.
Okay.
So I'm doing that now, but I'm a part of a food justice and land sovereignty cohort. So
wow,
there might be coming out of that. We'll see.
Okay. You heard it here first, everybody, and you also heard the term farminary here first. What the hell is that?
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's so you should look up Jeff Chu. He graduated from there, but
we know who Jeff Chu is.
Oh yeah. So he graduated from Princeton. They have a seminary that's called the farminary, and it's basically the connection of earth and food and the deepest parts of life with theology.
Well, and I connect food to hospitality as well.
Mm-hmm.
And you see that so much more. I like to watch these travel blogs of these guys, these young guys who just go into the world and go do stuff, right? And they find them. So there's one guy in particular I watch, and I won't plug his stuff. I'm not sure. I forget his name, honestly. But, he'll find himself in places that seem inhospitable. So he's in Afghanistan, and he's going, these people are amazing. I can't pay for anything here. They won't let me. They keep inviting me into their home. They want to share a meal with you. And it's so much a part of the culture that how you take care of people, first and foremost, is you feed them, which ties very, very nicely into Jesus feeding the 5,000 and to all of these things that we're told to do to feed the hungry. Yeah, theology of food. I like it a lot.
Lauren, didn't you write... I was listening to a different book earlier today, so maybe it was a different book, but didn't you write something about how somebody told you about how communion wasn't so much about this body and blood? I mean, obviously it had to do with that, but not so much of his death and resurrection, because Christ hadn't died and resurrected when he had that last meal, but it was really about sharing a meal together in remembrance of Jesus, when we eat. So was that you that wrote that?
Yeah, that was me.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a huge paradigm shift for me. A good friend of mine, he's a former pastor. His name's Matt Reynolds, but he was talking one time about communion, and he said, they were sitting around having a meal, and Jesus said, "Do this in remembrance of me." He wasn't talking about eating a holy cracker and having a sip of grape juice like a couple times a year. He was talking about this. And I think that anyone who's shared a really good meal, where the conversation is just as good as the food, and you just are kind of like casually at ease, leisurely eating your way, like that to me now is what communion is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and Paul, we just missed it on purpose, because otherwise the instructions about how to do that, but Paul make no sense. Getting mad at people who were coming and eating all the food and getting drunk and doing all these things, because all the, these were banquets and the leftover food was given to the poor. This was not some, potluck that you went over to, and had a casserole. It was, but then again, then that all ties back, at least in my mind, it ties back to the tithe, which was always a food. I mean, there's almost no examples of people bringing money into the storehouse. They brought food, and that food, chunks of it were allotted to the poor. I mean, this is our mandate as Christians, even as Jews. It's we don't get off the hook on this one of caring for the poor unless you just really want to do the most insane mental gymnastics ever, and they do. These people should be competing on an Olympic level to get around the words of Jesus that say that's our first priority is to the poor. But yeah, I love the idea of taking. Well, let's take that back too. We'll take back food.
Yes, let's take back food. Yeah, and there's a tie in there too with I feel like with American, like the white evangelical movement is very much tied to like, I feel like it's very much spiritual fast food. It's convenient. It doesn't cause us to like go out of our way. We don't have to be in community with people in order to like cook something together, source something together. It's very much like check the box, moving on, which in American evangelicalism, it's very much like I said the prayer, I'm going to heaven. Now I can move on.
Yeah. And then Sunday morning is a lot like drive-through, you get through quickly, you get a belly full that's of empty calories.
Yes. But it feels good.
You walk away full, but in a couple hours, you're going to be wondering, what the hell I just ate and why am I still hungry? And I have to have some, oh man, see,
why am I sick? Why am I like, why do we have this like standard American diet, standard American diseases? I could go on forever.
Oh, you could. I wish you would. That's amazing. No, I think you're on. This is why we have people on so they can brainstorm their next book.
Yes.
Hey, I take credit for having done it with Matt DiStefano and his book about Renee. So he was on the. So you know Matt.
Yeah, I just forwarded his book coming out in the spring. I forwarded it for him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, when he was on the podcast, he and I go way back. John and he and I go way back, and we cut our teeth on Renee Girard. We're all sort of novice Girardians, and he was writing a lot about Lord of the Rings. And on a podcast interview with us, I'm like, man, you really should write a book about Lord of the Rings with a Girardian twist. And he did. So I'm like, it's really, really good. So all I ask is a mention in the foreword or, in the title, something about, and he did. He gave us a little shout out in the book. But this is how, but this is the genesis of ideas. This is why we do this podcast. And I'm being somewhat facetious, but for me and for John, I think I speak for you and Bethany as well. Tell me if I don't. But for us, the point is disparate points of view, disparate experiences, different ways of coming at all of these things. We have maybe one or two things in common, but where we're going to come at it from. And these conversations that happen are always revelatory on some level. I always walk away going, okay, that's at least one or two things I hadn't thought about. And I can't say that most days. I go days and days and days without decent conversation or just get mad on the internet. So I look forward to Mondays because at least on some level, I'm going to hear something interesting and different that doesn't make me want to go, punch a window. But or maybe I need to get riled up. I also came over listening to Rage Against the Machine on the way home from work again today, so I can just get pumped up.
Nice.
I don't know why they don't put another album out. Those guys are still mad. It's fine.
Dude, you are like you are a gym rat in the making. You're like halfway there.
Yeah,
it's literally what I listen to every time I go to the gym.
Yeah, I do all of that, and then I don't want to do the workout part. So, it's cool. But yeah, no. So I mean, just so cool. I'm excited about your food theology book. We'll work on a title. No, I won't do that for you. But
What's one like overarching thing that when you left India, you're like, I'm going to hold on to this?
There's a lot, but I think for me for people who read the book, I think this will make sense. But for me in my personal journey, there was so much fear that I had to overcome. There was the external fear of like, I'm afraid to travel. I'm afraid to be in this place where, I don't know the language. I can't read signs. There was a lot of external fear, and there was a lot of internal fear, because I was realizing that my spirituality was changing, and I didn't know what that meant for relationships. My marriage, there was a lot of fear. And India just, she took me in at that moment when I was the most afraid, and she taught me how to trust again. She taught me that I could trust in myself, that I could get through it. Even if the worst happened, there's a moment where I get very, very, very sick and I'm stuck on a train in India. That in my mind going into it would have been worst case scenario, but I made it. I survived, and I survived the breaking of my faith, and I survived all of the, the domino effect of, that in my relationships. So India, in a very real sense, taught me to be brave. And I think that's my biggest takeaway from my time in India.
Now I want to go. Now my trip to New York just seems superficial and silly. There were spiritual experiences over food, but that's different. That's just, we have planned for years, my wife and I, to travel overseas, and we'll get there when time allows. That's the problem right now, is time, but like I said, my goal is to go everywhere. There's no place. I keep seeing these, like, people put these little lists on, like, name one place you wouldn't go. I'm like, there's no place. Okay, maybe one. Okay, maybe there's a couple. I mean, maybe North Korea is out of the question, although I am fascinated. And you can go, by the way.
Mm.
It's possible. Yeah, you go on a very curated tour, though.
Yeah.
You don't go,
Sure.
You see what they want you to see, and you go where they want you to go, and then they say, bye-bye, tell everyone it's great. You're like, yeah, you don't just go wander the streets of Pyongyang alone. And I'm sure it's that way in a handful of places. But man, there's just, there's so many places that I think we could learn from, and that's one of the things that deconstruction has done for me so far. Whatever else it has caused, the world got bigger.
Yeah.
And it simultaneously got smaller, but I'm saying, like that sense of wonder came back. And I don't know where I fall in the Enneagram. I'd never done it, and I'm not sure I have the capacity to understand it. But I used to. I think you can change, though, because I know that in my 20s and 30s, I was somebody who needed concreteness. I desperately had to have the answers. And these days, I just don't care. Like, I don't know is a perfectly acceptable answer for most of the things that are important. I just don't. I mean, I have opinions, but at the end of the day, I will at least bracket those opinions with, I could be wrong, though, and I don't honestly know, and I'm not sure how we could know. So we should probably move forward with some care and some humility. And that's what that's what rubs me the wrong way anymore about religious people, and it could be from whatever walk of life they're from. If you are cocksure in your opinions and you are right and everybody else is wrong, I don't care what those opinions are anymore. Like, it just, I can't do it. The arrogance is off the charts. The presumption is just intolerable. I'd rather hold things loosely and say, again, I do have very strong opinions. John and Bethany will attest to that. I do. And I do think I'm right most of the time. But I have to admit that there's just a lot of things we don't know. And there's a handful of things I just don't think we will know or can know or need to know. Maybe maybe it's just not. I mean, I don't need, because at the bottom, at the end of the day, Christianity for me is simple. And I don't need to know the answers to those things to do the things I know that I'm tasked to do. The rest of it is interesting. I could go spend 20 years pursuing philosophy degrees and all kinds of stuff, and it won't necessarily help me be a better person to my neighbor, or more accepting of my queer friends, or more. Those things are fairly simple. So the rest of it, I don't know. I don't know why we fight so much about it, but
yeah,
it's ideology, I guess. But I don't know. And now I've run out of things to say, John. Oh, that's not true. I could talk for the rest of the hour, but people didn't click on this podcast to hear me ramble. I'm not sure, actually. If you're still listening, and the reason you're here is because sometimes I go on tirades, send me a message. I'd love to hear from the one or two people out there who think, number one, I should do more Matthew McConaughey impressions, and or just go on rambling screeds about what's wrong with the world and why the kids should get off my lawn.
Lauren, where are you going to seminary? Or I mean, not where, but what are you studying in seminary?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting my Master of Divinity at Emory's Candler School of Theology. Mm-hmm.
Good for you. Wow. And do you know what you want to do with that, or why MDiv?
I don't have a good answer. A lot of people have asked me, and I'm just not like you were saying, like I'm just holding things very loosely. And I applied on the last day that I could possibly, like I was kind of dragging my feet. My husband's like, you should just apply, just see what happens. So I did, and the doors just kept opening and opening and opening. So I am walking forward. I'm still working full time, so I'm just part time, and I'm really enjoying it. Surprisingly, I would not have thought that I would enjoy being in that kind of environment, especially after my deconstruction. But I am. I'm really, really enjoying it.
I love that. Yeah, I went to seminary very part-time as well. It took me like 7 years to get my MDiv because I was working full-time as a pastor at the same time. And it was just like, and I have 3 kids. It was a long road, but I loved every second of it because it forced me to read materials that I often wouldn't have read on my own, and just to think outside of the box that I was handed in many ways. It was a really important experience for me.
Oh, I love hearing that. That's my plan. That's what and I'm like, if it takes 6 years, 7 years, whatever, like I'm not doing this to like have a career at the end. I'm not like rushing through to get the job, So yeah, I think that there's definitely more writing in my future. And there is a spiritual collective just outside of Atlanta called Vinings Lake. They have asked me to join the teaching team there. So it's like an interfaith, we call it a spiritual collective, but it's structured very similar to church. But yeah, and it's been a very healing thing to be involved in that after my deconstruction journey.
Good for you.
Had you had any like Bible college before, or is this your first foray into?
Oh, dude, I went to Pat Robertson's college.
Okay, no, now we have to talk about that.
I know. Yeah. Should have gotten that earlier.
You went to 700 University? No, I'm kidding. It wasn't called that, but
well, yeah, it's called Regent University, and I've got my film degree, so I went to their film school.
Oh wow, okay. So I know people who've done, but I did Bible school, which is, for those of you who are listening, not the same. It is not seminary.
No.
They are very agenda driven. You're there to learn a specific brand of theology. Even using the word theology makes me cringe a bit. You're there to learn their brand of, I went to a school that was, it was the same school that Joyce Meyer went to.
Oh, yeah.
It was called Life Christian. At the time, it was called Life Christian University. And then whatever state they were hosting, because it was one of those things like they had a campus, and then you could teach classes in your church, so anybody could go get a Bible degree, right? But it was all like Kenneth Hagin. It was all very prosperity gospel stuff. It was all very end times weird stuff. And then at some point, I think they were hosted out of Florida or something. The state came down and said, "You can't call yourself a university. You're not. You're just not." So they became like Life Christian Bible Institute. Because they were forced to stop using the word university, fraudulently. But yeah, so I had that experience, which was very much an indoctrination versus most of my friends who've actually gone to like legit seminaries are like, oh no, that's not like that. Like they're not there to teach you what to think. Hopefully they're showing you how to think, how to be critical, how to be skeptical, how to, hopefully. And I would go back if only to learn like biblical Greek and Hebrew. Just because I just think that would be a handy little thing to have in your tool belt to say, rather than just like pull out the Strong's Concordance and do like word studies and get it all wrong, which I did as a pastor too many times. I'm like, this word in the original Greek means blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't have a clue what I'm talking about. But yeah, good on you. I think that's amazing. I don't think hopefully we never stop learning. I'm actually wanted to go. I've talked to my wife about going back to college and getting like a like a hard science degree, just because I'm fascinated. And I was discouraged from studying anything hard science, and because that was the devil, So I don't know anything about physics and evolution and cosmology and all these things that are now endlessly fascinating to me. So I just may stick with a YouTube degree. See how that goes. Seems to work for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. John, when are you going to go back to school?
Oh, I'm never going back to school, man. I'm not doing that. No,
he's done.
I got,
all right, that was a very short conversation.
I got my associate's degree and I was like, okay, I'm done.
That's cool. I looked into an MDiv once upon a time, looked at how many hours were involved and went, nope. Because it's not. People don't realize that's a lot. I mean, I was like, okay, that's, it sounds great, but I don't. I've got other things. But I'm impressed. And I don't know, as we wind it down, I just want to thank you. First of all, thank you for the book. It's beautiful, and I'm going to go back and read it again. I just think it's remarkable. I'll echo what Bethany said. It's so well written. It's so engaging. It's one of those rare books recently where I pick it up and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to read one more page. And then next thing I know, I've read, 2-3 chapters and I'm like, yeah, it's very, very good. It is a page turner, but it's just timely, I think. So appreciate you doing that. Appreciate you coming by and hanging out with us and spend the time. Wish you all the best success. Bethany, John, any parting words before we turn our guests loose?
Thank you for taking the time to talk with us. It has been really amazing.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Lauren.
Thank you guys so much.
Absolutely. And we will, of course, link to all your stuff in the show notes. So make sure we promote the heck out of the book. Go buy the book. It is available currently.
Everywhere you buy books.
All right.
At all the place you buy books, we know.
It's called a Tiger in My Lifeboat. Is that what?
Tiger in a Lifeboat.
Tiger in a Lifeboat. Yeah. And it's very close. I mean, you mentioned the life of Pi multiple times and how
that's right.
much that connected with it. And yeah, really excellent book. Thank you.
Very, very cool.
Thank you, Sal.
Go buy a book. Go support your local authors and help us keep the lights on, man.
Thank you for listening to This Is Not Church. Be sure to rate and review the podcast on your platform of choice. If you would like to partner with us, visit patreon.com/thisisnotchurch, where you will receive exclusive content such as early access to episodes, videos of upcoming episodes, and live Q&A sessions. Be sure to check out our Facebook group or follow us on Twitter and Instagram. All the links are in the show notes. We'll be back soon with another episode.